Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Russ, and today we'll be going through the HH357 atomizer. You could certainly call it an atomizer. You can call it an atomizer mod. You can call it whatever you want. This at this point is still beta, but not for long. This will be in official production by an official company soon, and I'll let you know how you can keep up to date with announcements regarding that development shortly. Now, what this is before we get into performance demonstrations, what this is. Well, first, let's start with what it looks like. There's the outside there. That's the inside. How about we look at the outside first? Yeah. So that's the outside, and what, it looks nothing too fancy. It looks just like a regular 510 atomizer. Now, if you look at the inside, that's where it starts to look totally different. As you can see down the middle there, you have the familiar porcelain cup and atomizer coil. Now, that is this particular model is a Cisco low resistance 306 coil seated in its little porcelain cup there. And as you can see, it is surrounded by a stainless steel mesh. There's some other things going on with this, and rather than go through all the details of how exactly it's made, you can get those details by listening to an interview that I did with the creator, Hannah Hadawar, and that's on my Blog Talk Radio show, VP Live show, and I'll have a link to that in the description if you want to know all the nitty-gritty about how exactly it's put together. But there are going to be some small changes, some fine adjustments to it that may slightly change some of the materials that are used. So again, stay tuned for that. But, on a mod here, I'm using this on a Phidias with a AWIMR high drain 18650 battery. And since it does use the outside case is a 510 case, you can use any 510 atomizer you want on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a very short drag on this electronic cigarette, and let's talk about it in a sec. So, as you can see, the length of time that I dragged on the atomizer to produce that amount of vapor was quite short. Now, that's part of one of the performance objectives of this mod that Hannah made when he was designing it. He wanted to extend the life of the atomizer. Again, at this point, it's too new to really tell how long this lasts, but he has had excellent results. He's burned out 1 in 8 months, so that's pretty good start. But your mileage may vary. We'll only get to see over time as the general public starts to use these. But he wanted to increase the amount of time that an atomizer lasted. He wanted to increase the amount of vapor, given the amount of time you're dragging on it, increase the amount of flavor, and I can say with certainty that all of those performance objectives are met. So what's going on here is that we have a 306 low resistance, in this case a Cisco 306 low resistance, inside of a case, of a 510 case. So that's certainly nice in terms of, you can use whatever drip tip you want on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this on top of just a Chinese battery. This is a Brother electronic cigarette, which is virtually identical to the Hello 16, just to show you at a lower voltage the kind of vapor you can produce. Still, a shit ton of vapor on a much lower voltage. Now, since those are unregulated mods, what I've done here is I have a variable voltage tech mod, which I've got set to. The hell do I have it set to? It'd be helpful if you could read that, wouldn't it? Yeah, 3.6 and change, 364, 365. Is that right? Yeah, 364. I hope. Well, you're just gonna have to. If that doesn't read out great, you're gonna have to trust me on that. It's 364. So this is a regulated mod, so we are about to deliver exactly 3.64 volts under load to the HH357. Here we go. Yeah. So the thing works. Hits like a freight train. Tastes great. One disadvantage of this mod is that it eats juice alive. Now, what I'm using now is I'm using Inhaler high voltage signature tobacco. I don't know what it is. I'm fairly certain that it's a PVG See, this is why I don't do YouTube videos. Although it does feel good not to be stuck inside the radio for once. I believe it is a PG-VG mix, but I don't know the quantities. Let's put it back on top of the Phidias with the 18650 because I do find that gives the best kick. And one more. So, as you can see, it's more vapor than you would expect given a drag of that length of time. Now, let's quickly go over the name because, well, that's all I got to do with it, really. Hannah had made a blog post last year, so that's 2010. He made a blog post about how he made these. He put it up on a blog, and nobody noticed. He didn't end up making any for anyone, but the people who ran the blog said, "Hey, this thing's performing like gangbusters, and here's his email address. So drop him an email, and maybe he'll make one for you." So I said, "All right." Now, at that point, and at this point today, June of 2011. This is not something that's being officially produced, but it will be soon. I'll get to that in a minute. And basically, I had to send him 306s and send him 510s, and he made me a couple of these out of those parts. And I paid him with some cartomizers and some liquid that he wanted. Fine. So once I finally got it, I was immediately struck by how well it works. It works better than any other atomizer I've tried by a long shot. What's going on in here, again, without going into every detail, is that instead of on a normal atomizer where the air just comes up from the bottom and just goes up, Hannah seals off a very narrow air chamber. So going from the bottom of the atomizer to the coil is one small, very compact air hole. So even though you're drawing, ostensibly at the same rate that you would draw on a regular atomizer, it's constricted that airflow so that it's only going up and only hitting directly on the coil. That's why you get so much more vapor, given the effort or the drag that you're putting into it. And everything else is increased too, the taste and all that. Now, the other thing that's kind of neat about this design with that mesh around the sides is it doesn't leak. I'm typically a user of drip shields because they prevent leaking from the bottom of the atomizer. Well, this thing doesn't need one. It doesn't leak. Any excess liquid does get absorbed or kind of hangs out in that mesh and then comes back into the atomizer as you need it. So it's hard to run this thing dry. You can do it. I've done it, but it's tough to do. So it works real well, and unless you're very careless, it's not gonna run dry, and it's not gonna leak out the bottom either. I guess that's kind of it. Stay tuned. In the link down below, you'll have a link to the radio show that I did with Hannah, and he'll explain all the wonderful things that he's done. And again, we'll also have more details. This will be something that's at this point you can't get them from Hannah directly anymore. He's done with that, and he's done with this beta stage of the atomizer. He'll be buttoning up some of the particulars of it shortly, and there will be a major vendor to be announced that will be carrying them, so you'll be able to buy it just like anything else. Last but not least, the name. What I did was I wanted to call it something, so what I did was I just said, all right, well, he's using a 306 coil, so let's start with a 3 in the hundreds place. And then since he used the 510 and a 306 to make it, I said, well, if you take the 51 from the 510 and the 6 on the 306, you add those together, you get 357. And I'm quite fond of guns, and the 357 happens to be one of my favorite pieces of ammunition. So it hits like an explosive. Why not name it after one, right? Hey, now. Now, before I shoot myself in the head, I'm going to end this video. Thanks for watching, everybody, and stay tuned. We'll have more detail shortly.